The Green Bay Packers are, as we thought, losing Jeff Hafley to the Miami Dolphins. But this coaching cycle has given the Packers plenty of great options to replace him.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Google, wherever you find podcasts, you'll find Locked On Packers, the number one Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened, they want to know why and how, thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you here on the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network. Brian Gutekunst is going to have to find some impact players in the draft sooner than later. The Packers' cap situation seems bad, but isn't. But let's start with Jeff Hafley, because he's going to be a Miami Dolphin. He's going to be the Miami Dolphins' next head coach. And there may be players that he takes with him. I'm looking at you, Malik Willis. There may be coaches that he takes with him. Derek Ainsley, DeMarcus Covington. I would say Vince Ogobasi, who is someone he brought with him from Boston College, is probably the favorite to be the defensive line coach in Miami. And the Packers are going to have, if Ainsley and or Covington don't go to Miami, they are the ready-made in-house candidates for the Packers if they want to go that route. I do just want to add here briefly, Christian Parker, former Packers quality control coach and current DB's coach in Philadelphia, is going to interview for the Green Bay Packers DC job, according to reports. So the first guy that we hear about, at least, that's going to come in and interview for the job has been someone who I have had absolutely circled in all of this. Don't think he'd be wildly expensive, but do think he could be an awesome coach. Coached under Vic Fangio, then coached under Nathaniel Hackett, then survived for Sean Payton, then reunited with Vic Fangio in Philadelphia. You have to be a little careful of the Fangio tree guys, because the fruit of the Fangio tree has been pretty rotten. The guys who have tried to run the Fangio system, not named Vic Fangio, have not done a great job overall, but this is someone who is seen as a rising star around the NFL and is someone who is seen as a potential head coach as well. Would be a young guy, someone who the Packers could come in and have for a couple years as they try and make this run. It would be a risk for a team in a Super Bowl window to give the job to someone who's never had it, but still someone Matt LaFleur is familiar with and is someone who organizationally would fit the ethos there, both on, their desire to at times be frugal with their coaching hires, but also this is a really good coach. Like, don't confuse, he's young, with they're going to hire him because he's going to be cheap. No, Christian Parker is a really good coach, a really respected coach, and he's going to be a DC sooner than later. If not in Green Bay, probably somewhere else. But if you go back and you look at the finalists when Jeff Hafley was hired, the two other names that the Packers were strongly considering, one of the reasons why the Packers didn't get to hire them is each got promoted internally where they were coaching. Zach Orr in Baltimore and Bobby Babich in Buffalo. Well, Bobby Babich and Zach Orr just lost their head coaches. And neither of those guys produced at a level that makes ownership go, you really should keep those guys. Like Jeff Ulbrich in Atlanta was beloved there. Kevin Stefanski ends up keeping him. That's not that unusual. In fact, Matt LaFleur retained Mike Pettin at the suggestion of management when he got the job back in 2019. And while Mark Murphy would say, we didn't force anyone to do anything, apparently Mike Pettin was on the list that Matt LaFleur gave the Packers of potential DC candidates. This is something that every coach has to do. When you interview for a coaching job, especially like you're an offensive coach, for example, management wants to know who you want to bring as your defensive coordinator, who is in your Rolodex, who can you call that will show up when you call. Because it's not just about, oh, I know this person. No. If you call them and ask them to take the job, will they? That's what you have to be able to sell to management. Well, the Packers could just go back to the 2023 cycle. I guess the post-2023 cycle, it was 2024. And say, well, those two guys, they've got to be two of your first two calls. Because I really liked what Babich did this year in Buffalo. Sean McDermott, part of that brain trust. Sean McDermott could be a name that you call. Is Sean McDermott going to get one of these jobs? Would he go to Tennessee and be the head coach there? It's still a head coaching job. Would he go to Cleveland? Probably not. Would he go to Arizona? Probably not. Now, Baltimore, they'd be replacing a head coach who perennially underachieved with a head coach who perennially underachieved. Could he be the guy in Pittsburgh? Maybe. There were some Dolphins fans I saw on social media going, hey, are we sure Jeff Hafley's the guy? Can we not just get Sean McDermott, the guy who wins the division every year with Buffalo and goes to the divisional round every year and goes toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes every year? But I really liked what Bobby Babich did this year. What is funny about, not funny, haha, but is interesting about this being the season that Sean McDermott gets the boot is that defense was not very talented. Matt Milano in and out of the lineup. Ed Oliver gets hurt. Christian Benford is a nice corner. But they didn't have a lot of players on that defense. Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, they were out. And then Jordan Poyer had to come back and then he got hurt. I felt like they were able to really make some good adjustments. Coach A, Cody Alexander, who's been on the show a bunch, is my go-to defensive mind when I want to talk defense. He was really impressed with what Buffalo did this year, especially with limited resources. And so Babich was the guy who was the architect of that defense with heavy fingerprints from Sean McDermott as well. Both of those guys are people that I would call if I'm Matt LaFleur. If you're not getting that Ravens job, if you're not getting that Steelers job, and I don't think he is, then he doesn't strike me as the kind of coach, Sean McDermott, who would want to do TV. Maybe he just wants to take a year off, recharge. Or you could go coach Micah Parsons and Xavier McKinney and Edgerrin Cooper and Evan Williams and a very talented Packers defense with some clear deficiencies. But you've managed around clear deficiencies in the past. And you have a chance to go win a Super Bowl in Green Bay, maximize what is likely going to be only one other opportunity. Once you get two chances as a head coach, you're pretty much done. Steve Spagnuolo got two chances. He has been awesome as the Chiefs defensive coordinator, and it has not mattered one iota. The NFL has basically said, sorry, Steve, you had your chance and you blew it. Whether that's fair or not. And I can't say if it's fair. Probably not fair, honestly. Like if you look at some of the coaches who have been hired over the last 5 years, wouldn't you rather have given Spags a chance than some of those guys? Come on. Some of the guys who get 1 year. So I think the Packers present an outstanding opportunity for him. Not only do you get a chance to compete for a Super Bowl, but you can recuperate your value coaching Micah Parsons. He's never had a player on his defenses in Buffalo half as good as Micah Parsons. So wouldn't he jump at the opportunity to come do that? And look, I don't say that as any slight to Bobby Babich or Zach Orr, but Sean McDermott, I know that, there's some game management issues and there were they coached and played tight at times. But when you just get to focus on your side of the ball, when you just get to do the thing you're best at and you don't have to worry about timeout usage, you don't have to worry about what the offense is doing, you don't have to worry about the special teams. Well, maybe in Green Bay you have to worry about the special teams. Aren't you in a better position then to succeed? So if you just rewind to 2024, when they hired Jeff Hafley, they could have had Zach Orr, they could have had Bobby Babich. Those guys get promoted. I don't think Zach Orr set the world on fire, but 2 straight years, they start slow, and then they crank it up in the second half. The defense played much better in the second half each of the last 2 seasons. Hey, let's just move Kyle Hamilton here. Let's just move Kyle Hamilton over there. They were willing to try things. They were willing to be adaptive and malleable. And that, to me, on a defense that, frankly, I don't think was that talented, is a sign of a good young coach trying to figure it out. I would give him a chance in Green Bay. This Mike Macdonald style of defense. I mean, look at what Seattle's doing. I mean, they've got players all over the field, to be sure. But like, I like the idea of bringing that in. So those are opportunities there. I've mentioned Raheem Morris in the past. He's only available because in this coaching cycle, he got fired. So, okay, now you have someone with long connections to the McVay tree, knows Matt LaFleur, has been friends with Matt LaFleur for years. And I think you have to be careful about the nepotism, cronyism, buddy ball stuff. The Shanahans and the McVays love to keep it in-house. But Raheem Morris won a Super Bowl in LA coaching a very different style of defense. Like, they brought in and they were like, all right, we're going to do the Brandon Staley thing. We're going to play, like, they brought in Raheem Morris and wanted to play a different style of defense than he had been playing. He adapted over time, and I thought maximized that group. Now, he had, Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald. But is having Aaron Donald that much different than Micah Parsons? I know the Packers don't have a Jalen Ramsey, but Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams, those guys are really talented chess pieces. Queens on the chessboard. Javon Bullard, really talented player. They have a really talented spine of this defense. Can you bring him in and get that same sort of success? Someone who is, again, shown he is malleable. I don't want you to bring a coaching style with you. What I want you to bring with you as a coach in any circumstance is the ability to adapt. And this has been something that has been so impressive with Matt LaFleur is they've had to adapt and grow and change in 16 different ways since he got to Green Bay. You had to coach around a running game that wasn't working. You had to coach around injuries. You had to coach around a quarterback who wants to play a very specific style. Then you have to coach around the fact that your style of offense was designed to attack single high coverage, cover three in particular, and the whole league started playing two high coverage. You had to find answers. Matt LaFleur did that. You have to find answers with Jordan Love now and young rookies and second-year players. Matt LaFleur did that. I want you to bring coaches in who can do the same kind of thing. You also need the players. And that's where Brian Gutekunst comes in. And this is a key offseason because they don't have a first-round pick. They don't have a bunch of money to spend. So they're going to have to hit on some impact players here with more limited draft resources than they are used to. I want to talk about that next on Locked On Packers. If you've ever hired someone who looked good on paper but wasn't the right fit, you know how important that fit part is. When you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed sponsored jobs. Hiring Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs put the post at the top of the page to help you reach candidates faster. If I needed to hire someone for this show, I'd go straight to Indeed and be very specific about what I need. Real experience, not just resume buzzwords. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results using Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show get a $75 sponsored job credit to give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL. Just go to Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction market changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Except, of course, this podcast. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps involve trading significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, a registered future commission merchant and swap firm. I wish you could have been there in the Discord when the Bears were playing. The hate watch was on, and it was a fun time. Get in the Discord by joining the Everydayer Club. Get ad-free Locked On Packers on whatever podcast platform you use, and an invite to the members-only Discord chat. Go to lockedonpackers.supercasts.com for more. How many players in the Brian Gutekunst era have made Pro Bowls? Brian Gutekunst has been the GM since 2018. The answer is 4. 4. There's a good chance 3 of them will not be on the roster in 2026. Jair Alexander, already gone. Elton Jenkins, I would say as good as gone, and we'll get to the financial ramifications of that in a second. Rashawn Gary, we'll see. I think more likely they restructure Rashawn Gary to save some money now and then move on in a year. But if they post June 1 him, I don't think that would be the most surprising thing either, especially if you were with us yesterday listening to what Micah Parsons said. He was talking, it seemed like, directly to 52. And then Jordan Love. Now, when you get the quarterback right, and Brian Gutekunst got the quarterback right, the rest matters a little bit less, right? And I think Zach Tom is a Pro Bowl caliber player. I think Evan Williams this year deserved to be a Pro Bowl player. Javon Bullard, second half of the year, played like a Pro Bowl caliber player. Edgerrin Cooper can be a Pro Bowl caliber player. Tucker Kraft, if he'd played the whole season, would no doubt have been a Pro Bowl caliber player. And I think Christian Watson, when he played this year, was a Pro Bowl caliber player. He did get an All-Pro vote and just didn't play enough. No, I don't know if Christian Watson is ever going to get the volume that he needs in a very crowded receiver field to get that, but he's a very, very good football player. That being said, you still need offensive line depth here for the Green Bay Packers. They could use a dude up front. They just don't have one right now. And it was Elton Jenkins. He was a Pro Bowl player. Twice, in fact. But I find it hard to believe he's on the team. Now they could restructure. There are things that they can do here. But you need to use the draft wisely this year because the finances are such that it's going to be hard for the Packers to add meaningfully with this team through the draft. I mean, through free agency. You're going to have to do it through the draft. And so whether that's a cornerback, whether that's a secondary pass rusher, whether that's a stud offensive lineman, and I think Anthony Belton can be a good player. I think Jordan Morgan can be a good player. And an offensive line is a weak link system. It's not about how good your best players are. It's about how good your worst players are. Are there places where you can be taken advantage of? The Packers, their best players just didn't play well enough. I think what happens is when you don't have those high-level elite talents, you are more subject to the vicissitudes of variance. And we saw that in the postseason. Packers offensive line played really well in the first half. They're moving bodies in the run game. They're pass protecting Jordan Love. In the second half, they can't get off. They can't sustain any blocks. And they're busting pass protections. They're blowing, and it's not even like guys are just winning one-on-one. It's mental errors. It's not knowing who to pick up in those moments. It is, I'm blocking someone. Oh, here's another guy. I'm going to come off my block to get this other guy when you really should just stay on your block and let the quarterback handle that guy. Let Jordan Love make the guy miss. Brian Gutekunst he did the thing with Micah Parsons and made the big splash. And Micah Parsons had a huge impact on this team. Losing Micah Parsons made a huge impact on this team. Now, they also just need to be healthy. Like if they have a healthy Lucas Van Ness for the full season, I think we're talking about a different defense. If they have Evan Williams healthy for the whole year, I think we're looking at a different defense. And there's no question in my mind that if Micah Parsons plays for the whole year, they would probably, maybe they wouldn't still be playing because I think the Seahawks were a really, really good team, but they could have absolutely gone toe to toe with the Seattle Seahawks this year. The two best teams in the NFC are playing on Sunday. Let's get that out of the way. Over the balance of the season, the two best teams were the Rams and the Seahawks. And according to DVOA, you guys know I love DVOA, this is the best matchup between two DVOA teams in terms of their quality ever. So that tells you how good those teams were. But I think if this team had been healthy, not that they would have been one of the best teams ever by DVOA, they would have been significantly better than they wound up being. And the final numbers, were also in part skewed by a really bad game with Malik Willis at quarterback, and then a really, really bad game, especially defensively, with Clayton Tune under center. And Clayton Tune wasn't even on the team the next week, which is just like, again, not funny, haha, but like, come on, guys. Come on. You fed Clayton Tune to the wolves on that. The good news for Green Bay is Brian Gutekunst has been much better in the middle rounds than he's been at the top of the draft. Edgerrin Cooper, second round pick. Javon Bullard, second round pick. Elton Jenkins, second round pick. Evan Williams, mid-round pick. Zach Tom, Romeo Dobbs, mid-round picks. Isaiah McDuffie, mid-round pick. Late-round pick, really. Garrington Valentine, later-round pick. They've found some starting caliber players later in the draft. And I don't think this is a team that is suddenly, bereft of talent by any means. If Tucker Kraft and Micah Parsons had been healthy on this team, they've got the ability, they've got the talent to go toe-to-toe with anybody. Anybody. So it's not like, this is not like last year where we're going, well, if Jordan Love. No, Jordan Love did. He made that improvement. If Tucker Kraft is the player we think. No, Tucker Kraft was and is the player we thought he could be. If Lucas Van Ness pops, well, he did once he was healthy, but he wasn't healthy. And then they made the big splash that we had been asking for them to make for a couple years now. They went all in on Micah Parsons. So Brian Gutekunst has built a very good roster, but you still need to add talent to it, especially if Elton Jenkins is going to be out the door, if Rashawn Gary is going to be out the door. They've got this outgoing class of free agents with Sean Ryan and Quay Walker, guys who played a lot of snaps for the Packers, were starters for the Packers, preferred starters. What's the future at corner? They've invested in Nate Hobbs. What is his role on the team going to be? If they're going to make this team better, it cannot just be internal development, though they have the players. Evan Williams takes another, even a small step forward. Pro Bowl player. Javon Bullard takes even a small step forward. Pro Bowl player. Edgerrin Cooper takes even a small step forward. Pro Bowl player. Tucker Kraft just stays healthy. Pro Bowl player. Suddenly they go from, Jordan Love and maybe Rashawn Gary as Pro Bowl players to they have 5, 6, 7, 8 Pro Bowl players. They acquired Micah Parsons. They acquired Josh Jacobs. They acquired Xavier McKinney. These are Pro Bowl caliber players. In the case of Micah Parsons, all pros. Their NFL scouting staff has been, spectacular. We've been talking about coaching brain drain. We haven't talked about front office brain drain. John Eric Sullivan out the door. Scouts. Is he going to take scouts with him? Well, that's brain drain in your front office. So the pressure now falls squarely on Brian Gutekunst to add to this roster at a more diminished capacity than he would have been a year ago. Now, it's also going to take Russ Ball doing some magic here. We'll talk about the salary cap part of this next on Locked On Packers. Kicking off the year feeling good is the goal, right? And honestly, hydration is the easiest win. When I stay on top of it, my energy, my focus, and my mood all level up. But let's be real, plain water doesn't always cut it. Especially when you're grinding through long days, hitting the gym, or just trying to stay consistent with your health goals. That's where Drip Drop comes in. Doctor-developed, proven fast hydration that helps your body and mind work better. Think clearer focus, better energy, elevated mood, even that fresh skin glow. I like electrolytes first thing in the morning. I like them pre-workout. I like them post-workout. My son, who's a type 1 diabetic, sugar-free options. Tastes really good. Loves the watermelon flavor. My son, who's a picky eater, by the way, loves this stuff. It's a science-backed formula trusted by firefighters, medical professionals, and over 90% of top college and pro teams because it hydrates you faster and more effectively than water alone. Right now, Drip Drop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Go to dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 20% off. Stock up now at dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL. FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action, and you are running out of opportunities in the NFL playoffs. Just 3 games left, just 2 weekends left of pro football. Man, that's a bummer. Because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded up with multiple profit boosts you can apply to the bets you like most. The boosts give you more juice on bets you already like instead of forcing you to bet something you might not like so much. You make your picks, then apply your profit boosts to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get finished. That's where we are, sorry. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. Right now, the Packers have negative $24.6 million in salary cap for 2026. Now, there are some easy levers to pull here. They save $19.5 million by moving on from Elgton Jenkins. Now, they don't have a lot of other guys with big contracts for these levers to pull that you'd even think about moving on from. The Packers don't like to post June 1 cut players. I think Kenny Clark would have been one of those guys, but they traded Kenny Clark and they added Micah Parsons' monster salary. They're not doing anything with Micah Parsons' salary. I'm telling you that right now. You want Aaron Banks gone? Okay. Well, you only save $4.5 million and it's $20 million in dead cap. Would you rather save $4.5 million and eat 20, or would you just pay the 24 to have Aaron Banks play on the team? Me personally, I would rather have Aaron Banks on the team. I don't think they're going to be that quick to just move on, especially when, if you do release Elgton Jenkins, you're already losing Sean Rhyan. So that's 2 starting caliber players for you out the door. How much turnover do you really want to countenance this offseason? Rashawn Gary would save the Packers almost $11 million. So right there, just between those 2 guys, you'd get to $30 million. You'd be back above water. You can move some money around and make this all fine. It's $17 million in dead cap. Now, if you want to cut him post June 1, it's almost $19.5 million that you're saving with only $8 million in dead cap, but then you got to eat the money in the future year as well. The Packers, again, they just like to take their medicine when they take their medicine. I think more likely, you restructure Rashawn Gary. You save $8 million, you push that money out, and then maybe in a year, you move on. You could restructure Aaron Banks and save $10 million. That's real savings. And the Packers, my guess is they've got an option bonus for Jordan Love. They build in these bonuses specifically so that you can push them out, spread them out over the cap, and save money. They can save almost $8 million if they restructure Jordan Love. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. Now, he's only $10 million in base salary in 2026. So you really just have that option bonus and some signing bonus that you're prorating. My guess is they could take that, that 10 and then spread that out as well. You're saving some money. There are some simple, straightforward levers to pull to get them back to even, and then in the, back in the plus side of the ledger in terms of salary cap space, but you also have current free agents you got to think about. Tucker Kraft needs an extension. Questions about Jaden Reed. Is he going to get an extension? I don't think at this point Dontavian Wicks is going to get one. I think they're going to let him play out the last year of his deal. I expect Dontavian Wicks a year from now, we're talking about, who could he go, play for? I would expect, a mediocre to bad team to sign him and hope that they can catch some lightning in a bottle with him. I think the future of this team is Matthew Golden and Christian Watson. Don't be surprised if Christian Watson gets an extension this year, just so they can kind of, make it a little bit easier on the cap this year. They have some options, but it's going to mean some pain. Like Elgton Jenkins was not a great player this year, but he was also switching positions. You would think in year 2, you'd be in a better position. The problem is you can't restructure Elgton Jenkins and save any money. So this is just what you got, which is why I think he is the guy, the big name guy and the big money guy who's going to be out. I don't think they're going to move on from Rashawn Gary. I would be pretty surprised, frankly, if they did. I think restructuring him makes a lot more sense. They could move some of Xavier McKinney's money and move things around. Then Trayvon Diggs, whose salary is technically on the books, I would guess they're going to either just cut him flat out. Doesn't cost them any money. Or they'll rework a new deal, basically rip up the old deal. And according to Over the Cap, that would save them $15 million if you just cut him. So between Jenkins and Diggs, you're in good position. I don't pretend to be a cap expert by any means, but based on my reading here, they can make this all work. It's still going to require some machinations and some adeptness from Russ Ball to put the pieces together. And then you got to work with Brian Gutekunst. Is there a free agent out there worth targeting? Is there a corner you can bring in? Is there a linebacker you can bring in? What do you want to do with Quay Walker? I don't think he's going to get an extension. But if he's going to take, $8 million a year, I'm fine with an extension in that range. $15, $18 million a year? No way. No way would I do that if I'm the Packers. Now, if it's 18, but it's fake and it's really only like 16 total cash flow or on the cap in the first 2 years and you can get out of it pretty easily, like maybe you do something like that. I don't think you have to even do that. I would expect a lot of these unrestricted free agents to be gone. And they do have they have a bunch of restricted free agents. You still got to tender those guys. They still have to get paid. And it's not just, random guys. There are some players who have been a meaningful part of this offense. Someone like Emmanuel Wilson. We haven't seen anything from Marshawn Lloyd. So who's playing running back for the Packers? I think they have to draft somebody. I think it'd be nice to draft somebody who you think can also return kicks. I think they need some explosiveness in this run game. A speedy back who's, can make people miss and create explosive plays. That's the kind of running back that they need. Can they find that guy? Probably in the draft. Not going to be a free agent. So the money it looks bad on paper, but then when you dig into it a little bit, it's not so bad. The Packers are very good at managing these things. I would expect Russ Ball to be able to work this thing out, to get it figured. And then you make those Rick Wagners, those Dennis Kelly signings on the margins. Maybe you take a shot on those Christian Kirksey level players, the Devin Funchess level players. And while those moves for the Packers at least never paid off, the Rasul Douglases of the world did. And they found some value. Devondre Campbell, they found some value there with these guys. End of the summer, you bring in somebody, he pops for you. This scouting staff in Green Bay, the ones that scout the rest of the league, not just the draft, they're among the best in the business. And so I expect them to find some value here on the open market. All right, back tomorrow as we continue the defensive coordinator search for the Green Bay Packers. We got 2 squad shows coming this week. I believe we're going to do Tuesday and Thursday. So that would mean tonight. That would mean Thursday. I can't say I'll be on all of them, but we're going to have a great time whenever I am. And even when I'm not, we're going to have a great time. So thanks for tuning in to Locked On Packers. Subscribe wherever you get podcasts. That means iTunes. That means Spotify. That means YouTube. You can watch us there. Follow me on the social medias. I'm on there a lot, probably more than I should be. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Ad-free episodes of Locked On Packers, plus a members-only Discord and more. Locked On Sports Today, which I also host, is there for you if you're in the Everydayer Club. And for those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 national NFL YouTube channel. On audio, make sure second listen Locked On NFL or Locked On Packers Squad Show so you can stay Locked On Packers.